Welcome, everybody. I'm Nick Kalyani, and I'm super excited to have you all on this inaugural kind of edition of BlockChai and Chill. This came about because I tweeted one day that I would love to have casual conversations with people about blockchain topics, whatever they might be. And I brought that to my team at Decentology, and the result is that we have now a regular program. I'm super excited to have you here. And I would like to introduce also here my co-host in this, Niharika Singh. Niharika, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Nick. So I'm Niharika. I'm working with Decentology as a community manager, and I'm so excited to kick off the first episode of BlockChai. And I'd so love to see what you all are having for your drink. So what I did was, over the course of this entire event, I'm going to fill my shot glass with some vodka, and whoever asks like the most amazing question or something, I'm going to have a shot at that time. So we can make it fun. And I want you to consider this like a very friendly back and forth conversation. And whatever you don't understand, we're happy to answer it. And back to you, Nick.
All right, great. So I think just a couple of housekeeping things, and then we can get going. My main request is in all these calls, when there's lots of people, it's super important that you pay attention to your microphone and make sure it's muted when you're not speaking, and then unmuted when you are speaking, because there are problems both ways. So if you could kindly pay attention to that. I see a few of you still don't have your microphone muted. I would really appreciate if you do that. Okay, so let's talk about how we're gonna sort of go through this session. So Niharika and I will kind of do a little bit of friendly banter on blockchain topics, but this is all about you. We want to get your questions. And so what we'd like to do is basically have you put your questions in chat, whatever they might be. And we would like you to add the microphone emoji if you want to actually have your question discussed, right? Like you want to come on and speak about it and interactively talk about it. So what Niharika is going to do is, as those questions come in, she's going to pick them and we're going to answer them. So let's just get going with any questions you have about blockchain. Anything is fair game. So let's mute whoever it is here. Niharika, can you?
Yeah, just it.
Okay, great. Great.
They unmuted themselves.
Okay, so if they continue that, you may have to remove them from the call, please. Great. All right. Yeah. So that's the kind of disruption we want to avoid totally. So let's start seeing some questions. But in the meantime, while you post your questions, what we can talk about is the main question for today is, and Niharika, I think you're best suited to talk about that question, and then maybe I can.
Hello, it's porn addiction recovery.
Okay. So, sorry about that. Nick, you were
saying. Is this not what I'm eating?
Can you please mute them? Thank you. Go ahead, Niharika.
Yeah, you were saying something, Nick. I didn't catch you there.
Yeah, I was saying that you had a question that you wanted to start off this first episode with. What was that question?
Oh, yeah. The question I had was like, okay, everybody's talking about blockchain, but...
Okay, yeah, you're speaking fucking nonsense. So shush.
Oh my God. This is unexpected. Sorry about that. So the question I had was, what problem is blockchain really solving? Like, it's being hailed as a solution to so many problems. Oh, if your mangoes are not exactly from India, you should put them on blockchain. Is that really going to help with anything? Or like, I just want to know what's the problem that blockchain is solving. And that was like the motivation for this particular chat. So what we plan to do is think about some good use cases about blockchain, about where it's actually making a difference and how is it actually making a difference. Or, if we come to a conclusion that, okay, fine, blockchain is all pretty useless. It's like a theoretical thing and it doesn't solve anything, then we'll just pack up our shop. But the question I want to kick off today with is like, Nick, like, according to you, like, do you think blockchain is a solution to any problem?
Yeah, I think blockchain is a great solution. Sorry about that. We next time we'll use the Zoom webinar format so we can control this better. But I would say I'm sorry about the disruption there. So to answer the question, I feel like one of the things that the media has done is falsely portray blockchain as a solution to everything, and it clearly is not. I mean, blockchain is a very good solution for a very specific domain of problems, but it certainly is not going to replace everything. And in fact, I feel like there's going to be a time here in the evolution of blockchain where it becomes a commodity, and we start thinking of blockchain just like we do a database or whatever. We don't fixate on which database an application is using. Therefore, there will be a time like that where we don't fixate on what blockchain. It's just a commodity. It's part of the stack. So I feel like the types of problems that blockchain is solving right now are ones that are sort of innovative, where you can get past the centralized kind of resources or centralized entities controlling thing. And I think the biggest experiment we've seen in that first is with DeFi. I mean, if you look at DeFi and the experiments that have been run, those would be impossible to do with our current regulatory and banking systems. There's no way that we can experiment with money at the scale that we are doing with DeFi. And you're big into DeFi, so tell me about your experience, Niharika.
I wouldn't say I'm big into DeFi, but I like to, I'm a curious person. So whatever protocol I come across, I try to use it. And the wow factor for me in DeFi is that, you as a person, if you go to a bank, you want a loan or something, okay, you want to buy a house, and let's say you want a loan of $50,000, let's assume. The bank is going to potentially harass you with a bunch of information: where you grew up, where you went to school, what's your salary like, and the questions that might also be like irrelevant. In DeFi, that's not the case. You can borrow whatever amount of money you want as long as you put up a collateral. And it doesn't matter where you come from, what's your so-called credit score, or where you live, what's your correspondence or permanent address. You can draw out loan without revealing your identity at all. And that actually means that when you don't have to reveal your identity, everybody is treated equal, And
share your music, share your love.
That's one of the wow factors for me. I think you can do a lot of stuff without revealing your identity, and the finance is like truly open there, which is not the case with your traditional banking, where it's behind, as you say, walled gardens. And to enter those gardens, you need to have like, I don't know, a net worth of X amount, and only then you can do it. So open finance is the way to go, and that's the future, and that's like the wow thing in DeFi for me. And
yeah, it's a good example. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that I'd also want to know from our audience, like, if they tried out something, and what do you think was the wow factor for you, or did not like it or hated it or something? And you can put it in the chat. And right now I'm being very cautious. If you unmute yourself, I'm like on a, my antennas are up. I might just kick you off, but start off with the chat.
Yeah. So the mortgage or the loan situation you described is great, but I think there's something even more basic than that. It's cross-border finance, just sending money to people in other countries, etc. I think it's just made so much easier with DeFi. And yes, let's not ignore the fact that given at certain times, now, for example, the fees on Ethereum in particular are extremely high, but I think those are growing pains. Those are going to go away over time. I think you can choose to fixate on that a problem and miss the forest for the trees. There are chains now where it is possible to do cross-border finance transactions without huge fees. So that I get excited about those kind of things. But beyond DeFi, there's also other applications. But I see a comment about DeFi. Not for long term, but DeFi will succeed only compliance is taken into account. Authorities are there to stay. So yeah, that's a good point. One of the big challenges right now is people who are skeptical about blockchain and about DeFi in particular, kind of try to think about it as this is the domain of people who are doing illegal stuff. Like this is for money laundering, this is for all kinds of drugs and money and all that kind of stuff. And what would be the other end of the spectrum? The other end of the spectrum would be that this is heavily regulated. I don't think that it's going to be either of those. I think what has to happen is that at some point, legislation and governments will catch up to this technology and have sensible regulation that works just as it does for taxation right now. There are laws, and we willingly, voluntarily comply with those laws. But right now, the laws are so ambiguous or non-existent that it's hard for people to comply with. But I think as long as the state can get its revenue, it will be okay. And I don't think any protocol out there is being designed strictly to evade the law, or I'm sure there are lots of people who are doing that, but for a vast majority of people, they're going to voluntarily report their income and things like that. So what are your thoughts, Niharika?
That's correct. And on the other side, like a lot of people are also getting burnt because of DeFi, because easily you can see that so many protocols are just running scams, and when they accumulate that kind of money, they just run away with it, or they just dump it on the market or something like that. Sometimes I feel that some kind of intervention with the authorities is also needed, but definitely when you do DeFi, you should do your own research and not fall for those kinds of traps. And right now it's a very risky space, definitely. But like Nick said, there might be like some kind of intervention with the authorities, like we see with taxation. Like if you don't pay tax, at some point the IRS is going to catch up with you. And right now blockchain is like super free. Anybody's doing whatever the hell they want, and like it's very anarchic in nature right now, but probably over time it will be, the chaos will reduce and things will become more streamlined. And I actually want to go back to thinking blockchain as a solution to more problems. Like I'm wondering, like as a technology, it's hailed as spectacular, it's the next big thing after the internet and all of that. Like, what do you think about that, Nick? Is it truly the next big thing after the internet?
Well, I mean, it runs on the internet. It is very big. And what excites me most personally about sort of the blockchain space is the fact that it can make innovation much, much faster. It is so easy for 2 or 3 people to get together, have an idea, and in just a matter of a few weeks, have a product launched out there, have an audience for it, customers, be transacting, etc. Yeah. That kind of speed is really, really difficult in Web 2. Like let's look at Web 2. There's a lot of free resources in the cloud. You can do the exact same thing. A few people can get together, set up a website, and have that going. But there are some impediments, and those impediments are in the form of, for example, if you want to monetize it, then you got to do a little bit of work with Stripe, etc. Which the technology part of it is easy. It's really like getting approved for an account, etc. Daily limits, all those kind of things exist. But more importantly is how do you get discovered? If you're just starting out, it's really hard for you to have the reach, and not every app is its potential for it to go viral. It doesn't exist. But in the blockchain space, in the crypto space, like literally, you might post about your app in 1 or 2 discords or tweet about it, and all of a sudden it'll be on fire. It just moves so very fast, and that's what really excited, because you can do innovative experiments very fast.
Yeah, and actually, if anyone has heard about this innovative experiment, Olympus DAO, it's like one project and there have become so many clones out of it, and it clearly shows that how easily something can go viral in this blockchain space. So there's not like one or two or three clones, there's like, I don't know, like 50 clones of Olympus DAO for now, right now. So you're right, like, at this point the adoption within the blockchain space is like super rapid compared to Web 2. In Web 2, I think, like, when I say Web 2, I just mean anything outside of blockchain that's on internet right now. Like right now, there is a lot of friction just to download another app on your phone. Like you have to work so hard as a company to, make the user download just one additional app on their phone. And even if they download it, they might not ever open it. So the competition there is very cutthroat, right? And what do you think, like Nick? Like, can the competition be as severely cutthroat in in blockchain as well, or how might it shape up?
Well, I think one of the things in blockchain is that people are very quick to figure out if something's just dumb or if it's super smart and super cool and super interesting, and that news is you. Let's put it this way: in Web 2, you can use marketing to survive for a lot longer than you ordinarily should. But in the world of crypto, it's much more brutal. Successful apps survive, and the ones that are terrible just die very quickly. And I love that. It's the barriers to entry are very low. The barriers to innovate are very low, but the barriers for success are also very clear. Like either you've got something useful or you're out of there, which I think is cool. So do I see any more questions there?
Yep. So some of them are comments. So we have a question from Bruce. What do you look at when deciding or picking what blockchain to use for a solution? That's a great question. So
it's a very good question.
Yeah, Bruce,
you want to answer that, or should I take that? Yeah.
I'd love to hear your point of view as well, but I would say, oh yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
No, I was just going to come on. I just, I kind of got gravitated to Flow. So that's kind of the one I looked at. Obviously, Ethereum scared me with the gas fee. So I kind of went away from Solidity and building contracts. But with so many out there and the fact that your software or your tooling supports, 6 different ones, how does a person look at where do they want to build their DApp ideal on? What kind of decisions do you look at when you're making that?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. And when I see like there's so many layer ones like blockchains, and there's so many chains on top of it, like layer 2 chains. And if I was like a developer or an architect, thinking, oh, which blockchain should I use? Then I think if I was making like a data critical application where security is of utmost importance, for example, if I want to store some healthcare or personally identifiable information has to be linked, or finance, then I would choose I would choose L1. And when I say L1, I would mean something like Avalanche, Ethereum, definitely, or maybe Solana as well, but sometimes it's down. But I wouldn't go for a layer 2 because the security is lower there. So when you want something faster and security doesn't matter, like maybe gaming, then maybe you can go for an L2. And that's the first thing that comes to my mind about which blockchain to go for. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, I will speak at it from an architect's perspective. So what I'd like to do is be very pragmatic about these kind of decisions. The first thing I would look at is to really understand what your use case is, because there are certain blockchains that are better for certain use cases. Someone said in the chat that Flow is good for NFTs, and yeah, it is good, but doesn't mean the others are bad. But Flow is optimized for that kind of thing. So things like speed, fees, etc., are important. But step back a little bit and look at your application. And one of the things that people tend to do when kind of making these kind of decisions is something called premature optimization. You're thinking about launching an app today or next week, but you're thinking about, oh, what will it be like when there are millions of users, etc. Can you just mute, please, Solomon, if you don't mind? So you're making these decisions about, what will it be like when there's hundreds of thousands of users, etc. And I think that's good. But what that ends up doing is putting you into sort of this almost analysis paralysis mode. Just think for the short term, because what you need to do is really look at what is there here and now, build out your app and get it going. Because I promise you, if your app is going to take off, etc., there will be opportunities for you to sort those problems out. And yeah, there'll be friction, etc., but you'll be able to figure it out because you'll have resources. Like when you're starting out, you don't have a lot of resources. You just want to get out there and be successful. So most people spend way more time doing analysis about what's going to happen when they succeed instead of focusing on succeeding. So focus on succeeding first. And trust me, if you're successful, all those problems that you've thought about, etc., can be solved because you'll have capital and you can hire the right people to help make those decisions for you. So that said, there are some obvious things you should consider, like, for example, speed, then your competency, like, do you have the skills to work on that language, or do you have access to the skills to that? That's in a large part going to decide that. I think it's probably not the smartest thing to say that, okay, I know, for example, Solidity, but I want to build on Flow, so I'm going to go looking for a Flow developer. Who knows if you'll ever find that? Just go with what you have, be agile, be fast, because speed is what's important. Speed and getting to customer traction is what's most important. So I would advocate that, but you can't ignore obvious things. Keeping those in mind reasonably, go with the chain that is going to work best for you now, and don't worry about the future.
That's a great thing, and it was a great question.
Hello.
And Solomon, you raised your hand. Do you have a question? If you're talking, you're mute. So please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hey, John, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi.
Hello. Okay. Yeah. Based on the question, I just want to chip in something that when you are considering picking a blockchain for a project, just as you have said, I really appreciate that's straight to the point. Go with what you have strength in and get started with that. Because, for example, I'm trying to launch something like a token for the programming university, and there are some features that are not yet available. That have such open source smart contracts I didn't see. I also love to have it on Flow, but presently I have more proficiency in Solidity. So I decided to stick to Solidity. And another thing you should also look for, especially when you are starting out now, is look for fee. There are a lot of projects now that are stored in Ethereum blockchain 1.0, waiting for 2.0, that for the past 1-2 years, their project has not been growing because of too much fee. You get what I'm saying? So I decided to go for something like Polygon, where I know that the fee could be. So that's another thing you should also consider doing. If the cost of accessing it for your user is too much, then that could be another turn off. So that's something I just want to chip in. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's an excellent insight. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really good to hear. Yeah, and you mentioned about the cost to the user. I think that's a real thing. It's a real cost that you have to deal with. One thing I don't see too many dApps doing, and maybe they'll start doing it, is handling the cost for the user. I don't know if everyone is aware of this, but the standard model of decentralized apps we see today is that you connect your wallet and you submit a transaction and you pay the gas fees. There is absolutely no reason why that has to occur. It is very much a fully decentralized approach where you simply sign the transaction and you hand it off to the DApp, and the DApp pays for the gas and sends that transaction to the blockchain. That is a model that can work. So if your app is something like, if you have the capital and if you have the resources, that is a very elegant way to handle gas costs on Ethereum, knowing that in the future the gas costs are going to drop. So obviously that does require a little bit of capital up front, but your users will love it because they can engage with your application without paying the gas fees. And that is 100% secure and 100% decentralized. It's essentially you're taking the signed transaction and you're handing it off to the blockchain, but you're paying the fee for it, not the user.
Right. I think one of the protocols, Bancor, is also doing that. They don't pay the fee for you, but they reimburse you. So it's a different model, but similar. Okay, we have a question from Minha. She's asking, what do you think about Cosmos ecosystem and Interchain in general?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Cosmos, so I cannot comment on it. But in terms of Interchain, I think that's inevitable. That's gonna happen for sure, and it's really exciting to see some of the experiments in the early times right now. They are high friction experiments, but they are experimenting is how you get to the next level. So I'm excited to see that, but I can't point to any one major thing right now that I feel is ready for mainstream and really exciting to build on right now. But that might be just means that I don't know about it.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I think Cosmos, it hails itself as like the internet of blockchains. So it connects different blockchains, I think. And I think like right now, a lot of our data is kind of siloed. Like if you're operating on Flow, for example, then your data just stays on Flow. And Cosmos is like on a crusade to change that. Like your data should be able to travel across different blockchains. And right now, I personally think that we're too early for that, but we're definitely headed in that direction. And I also don't know too much about Cosmos, never built anything on it, but I love that project. It's very futuristic, according to me. And
the question that I have is how much decentralization or how well decentralized are those solutions going to be as opposed to oracles? Ultimately, what is going to be more cost effective, efficient, and also more decentralized? I think the jury's out on that, but we'll be able to tell here in the next year or so.
Yeah. Okay. John Brown had a question, and he was wondering if he can unmute himself. So, yep, John.
Hello, everyone. I'm from Greenland, and I was answering about blockchain. Like, the blockchain is it specified in cock blocking, where you cock block people and you don't like Nick, I know you're agreeing with me. Like this thing, blockchain, is it really the successful future?
Well, I mean, the answer is yes. I don't know that there is more evidence needed, but there are already millions of people transacting on it. The question is, do you want to look at it as some kind of utopia that is going to change everything about life? No, it is going to change life in certain aspects, and it is already proven that it is like any other technology going through its life cycle. Technologies start off very rough, people are experimenting, etc. It's the bleeding edge. Then things sort of solidify and get easier. There are lots of people working on the user experience, which is one huge problem in blockchain right now. And I think then it's going to have more mainstream adoption. So I think it's already proven to be successful. It's just a question of us identifying which are the domains it's going to disrupt. And I 100% agree that it's not going to be every domain, but there are some domains where it is going to be very, 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 very impactful on our lives.
Yeah, that's kind of answered my question. But when you said about Web 1 and then Web 2 and Web 3, I think it was the Hiraka. It was you that said something about that. I got confused there. I wasn't understanding. What do you mean by that?
About what? What is Web 3?
Yeah, Web 1 or Web 2. You were talking about something like that.
So I just said that Web 3 is everything that's happening within blockchain right now, and anything outside of blockchain is referred to as Web 2. And this is just a way to make a differentiation between what might the internet look after blockchain is successful and what might it look before blockchain was really a thing. So the pre-era, I would say that's Web 2. And where we are right now, it's majorly about Web 2 stuff. And Web 3 is where we are headed. So how things might look like after blockchain has gone mainstream. So that function, that term is like a marketing term, more or less. It's got nothing to do with web in general. It's a very natural, organic transition from Web 2 to Web 3. It won't happen in a click, but that's what I mean. And so
basically Web 1 is Web 2, and then Web 3 is the future, and then Web 4 is Pornhub.
I'm living in Web 10. Web 4, I don't know, man. Yeah. Nick, what's Web 4?
Can I contribute to
that? Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Solomon, go ahead.
Yeah. Based on that question, I really want to give a more, she said that it's more of like maybe a marketing term. Yeah, but if you are more familiar about the history of the web, it goes beyond marketing. Because in Web 1, what we call Web 1 were the ages when HTML was introduced. And anything you can do online is all about text. You get what I'm saying? So when we move to Web 2, that is when we begin to have things like JavaScript, when you can now have images, you can have videos, and per each of these web section, there's always each companies, each organizations that are vetted. You get what I'm saying? So the lights that came through Web 1 were the likes of Yahoo then and things like that that couldn't sustain long. But late in Web 2 came the likes of Google, Facebook, because then the web can allow multimedia. There was a time when YouTube started that they had issue having people to play video online because there's no codec that can decode video online. So it is not just about marketing. It's about the real advancement of the technology. So that's why somebody like me, I do say it that following the history, each of Web 1, Web 2 took about 10 to 16 years to mature. So Web 3 also will likely take 16 years. And my calculation is that is 2024. And if you go to Wikipedia, go search for Web 1, www, World Wide Web, you will see that it's official for Web 1 and Web 2. And I, in fact, did a full about 1 to 3 hours video on YouTube. Maybe if you remind me, I may post it on Discord of Decentology, where I break all this thing down with the history. Because if you are going to Web 3 and you don't understand the history, people can confuse you. They can tell you what you are doing doesn't worth it. You get what I'm saying? So that is what Web 3 now brings decentralization, because Web 2, the problem with it is that some has hijacked it, which are some huge organizations, the likes of Facebook, the likes of Apple, the likes of Google, and these people, because they are centralized, they are at a beck and call of government. You get what I'm saying? The government can ban them, the government can fine them, the government can do anything. So, but Web 3 is when the people now decide to build decentralized database and things like that, where not even the government can stop it. For example, do you think there are no governments in the world that have tried to stop Bitcoin or blockchain?
Solomon,
It is just that they cannot stop it.
Solomon, sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you don't, like, one person doesn't monopolize the whole chat here. I appreciate your answer. I think it's very cogent and good.
Okay.
But we should move on and give other people a chance also. I think Priyanshu asked a really good question. Priyanshu, do you mind unmuting and asking your question?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Dick. Yeah, hi, Nick.
Hey. Hi.
Yeah, so I recently moved to the Web3 space, and so one fundamental question that has come to my mind is that DAOs, the decentralized autonomous organizations, believe a lot in the community culture. Like everything is transparent out there, and everybody gets what they have done for. Like basically, what you have done, you get paid for it or whatever it is. So I feel that it is a form of socialism. Basically, the products and the incentives are being shared to whoever has done the work. But if you look historically, capitalism has driven a society forward economically. See, from the rise of all those Morgans and who were they, all those oil giants and all those people. So capitalism has been a factor that has driven a society forward. But DAOs are a form of socialism, which I feel. So, do you think DAOs are going to be widespread going forward, and like socialism will take over?
Well, I will say that DAOs are going to advance, and I'm going to go into more detail. But I don't accept the premise. I don't think DAOs are socialists or promote socialism at all. I think it's as capitalist as it can be. So I guess it would take us some time to get into the discussion or the debate on that. But I haven't seen any evidence that DAOs are about socialism. I feel like they are as capitalistic as they can be. Like for example, one of the primary things about a DAO is that you contribute, you get rewarded. You don't contribute, you don't get rewarded. I mean, that's not socialism. That's capitalism. So
Shut the fuck up, I'm learning.
Oh well, that was wonderful. That's all right. Sorry about that. So let's talk about how DAOs will evolve, if they will evolve, right? So one of the things that should be apparent to anyone working with DAOs right now is that they are primarily in the domain of knowledge-based economies, right? So anything information-centric, you can use a DAO with right now. What remains to be seen is, can the DAO model succeed when you move in real life, when you move it to real life, when there is for things like services, manufacturing, etc. How will that work when there are so many externalities that have to be factored in? So that remains to be seen. The other thing is that I think DAOs are finding out very, very quickly that what they are doing is repeating history. Everything that is happening in a DAOs right now already has happened in the open source communities. It's nothing new there, other than the fact that there's blockchain sort of involved and it's more democratic. But in terms of the governance, etc., this has been a problem in open source communities forever. You look at all major open source communities, whether it's Linux, PHP, etc. There's always been this group of people that have come together for a common cause, and then out of that has emerged a core team, maybe a benevolent dictator, etc., that has helped shape things, etc. So all that has happened. What is different about a DAO is the fact that everyone has an upside in it that previously wasn't there. The current challenge with DAOs right now is, how do you make tooling and how do you make the voting, etc., fair and balanced, so that people who just have a lot of money just can't come in and vote, for things. So those are challenges that need to be solved, and those are not technical challenges. Those are challenges of process and governance and things like that. And we need smart people to debate those and figure those out. So I'm very optimistic about the future of DAOs. I don't know yet how DAOs will evolve in real life, because for that to happen, we need way more oracles than Chainlink right now. Chainlink is one big oracle, but we need way more systems like that. So Niharika, what do you think about?
Yeah, I mean, I think what might give away a DAO or any such setting away as a socialist setting might be because it's very flat in nature. The hierarchy is not very well defined, and so that gives an impression that nobody's there with a whip, and everybody is like feeding their stomach from the DAO treasury. But I mean, it might give an impression, and it's only an impression, but ultimately it's not like that. I would say that the flat organization doesn't exist. It's like a theoretical concept. No organization can be flat. You need to have people who can actually give direction to other people about what is to be done. And the other way is, like Nick pointed out about the DAO tooling, it's that like a lot of DAOs use this multi-signature wallet and all of that, so that the power is as decentralized as it can get. So in socialism, like some of the people who don't work as hard are also rewarded, so that the concentration of wealth stays equal. But that's definitely not the case with DAO, even if it appears to be. And that's my take. Like, it's definitely very capitalistic, but without the concentration of wealth, and it's not socialist at all. Only when you work towards something you get rewarded, otherwise you will not. So that's my take on DAOs.
Good take. I think Minha had a question or a comment. Oh, sorry, Priyanshu, go ahead.
Yeah. So as you have said, you get paid for what you have done. So that is like a proportional reward to your task. So my take on the capitalist form is that basically you get paid exponentially for what you have done. So basically, like what a capitalist society would be like, you can employ more people out there to get job done, and instead of them getting proportionately, you get more out of that. So, but in a DAO, you get paid like proportionally. So I feel that is kind of socialism out here.
Okay, so here's I think the part of the equation that might make a difference in your mind. You're thinking about the contribution and the reward that someone is getting, being paid for that. But keep in mind that that is not why they're in the DAO. If they wanted to do that, they would just go work for any company. They are also an owner. They own tokens in the DAO. And so the collective efforts result in those tokens gaining value. So they are gaining income, value from the collective effort also. So it's not just about their one, whatever effort they're putting in. So that's where DAOs are different. Like if I go and do a consulting gig with a company right now, a large company, I will get my money and I'm done. I don't get anything else. But in a DAO, I get my money, plus I get the upside that other people are creating value, and I can partake in that value. So Minha, you had a comment earlier. You had your hand raised.
Yes. Hi. Thanks. I think it's just more like a comment. It's not really a question, because what you have discussing with I'm sorry if I don't say the word right, but Priya. I do think like there's some cross between like the DAO and the collective. And it feel like really similar to socialisms. And I'm originally from Vietnam. I live in New Zealand now, and to me, like I don't experience it like firsthand, but I see the history how it play out because of like the concentration of wealth and inequality that lead to a lot of social unrest, and that lead to the experiment of the cooperative. And yeah, the cooperative is not new. It is something that we have like for millennia. But I think the problem with cooperative again, I think very similar to what you said, like the toolings around it, like who's going, how can we do effective voting? Who's going to carry the work? Who's going to be the leader? But also the problem is with the tragedy of the common, which is like if everyone own everything and derive the value of it, but don't do any work, then no one really is going to do any work. So I think at the moment, That is my bet. I'm hopeful. The DAOs feel very much like the early concentration of, this early concentration phase of capitalism. We need productive assets, but eventually those productive assets will need to be equitably distributed out based on your contributions. And I think that how we're going to have sustained prosperity. Because I think with so much concentration, there's very little incentive to trickle down. Trickle down economies doesn't really work. So so I think that's my take. But it's not socialism as like the early 1917 revolutions. I think it's going to be quite different. But I think the premise is always the same. Like the wealth flow up, it gets centralized, and then there will be unrest to redistribute it. But how we distribute it is going to be the question. So I think that's my take.
Yeah, some really good observations. And that, by the way, it's Niharika. That's her name. Yeah, I mean, really, really good comments. I think, what is really cool for me about DAOs is that they are an experiment that is unfolding in real time. Like we are actually participants and in an experiment at human scale, which you don't get to do very often. And we get to tinker with it. We get to, like, if we feel like it, we can go and create our own DAO and say, I don't like what everyone else is doing. Let me try this experiment, those tools. That brings us right back to the, how we started this call about talking about innovation and the fact that a few people can create something very quickly and other people say, this is working. I'm going to emulate that. I think that's really, really exciting.
Yeah. And the other thing that can be drawn from this is that blockchain is not just like a technological revolution. It's bleeding beyond that. It's not just about the technology. It's actually changing people's lives and their lifestyles, right? The way you work, the way you make money, transact money, or the way you game, or just about everything you do every day. It's changing all of that. And slowly or rapidly, that depends, but the innovation is definitely taking place at a very, very rapid pace. Like what should happen over 10 years is happening over 10 months. And for someone who wants to keep up with the news in blockchain about, what's going on here, they have to be at it like 24/7, right? And that's actually a pain. But what do you think about it, Nick? Like, do you think like blockchain is beyond just technology to people, or?
Absolutely. It's a culture, and that culture is very exciting because it's an open culture where it's welcoming, and it's not closed off. But within that culture, I'm especially really, really bullish about blockchain and art. As you know, I probably spend way too much time tweeting about art, etc., on the blockchain. This is because I see it as a force for economic equity worldwide. Like if you look at what exists right now, like if you're an artist, and let's just put the word in front of it, starving artist, because most artists are starving, unfortunately, and you want to get your work recognized or get in a gallery or something, you're going to need to get the right contacts, get an agent, and all. It is the purview of people who have resources, either contacts, meaning social capital, or wealth, financial capital. And with blockchain now, an artist somewhere in some small city in a developing country who would never have that possibility can have that possibility. They can bring their creativity and put it out there, and other people can appreciate it, own it, and it can feed them. It can pay their rent. This is, to me, the most exciting thing. So yeah, I'm not as big on DeFi as you are, Niharika, mainly because it requires so much effort to stay on top of it. But on this art thing, I can understand it. My brain can comprehend what's going on, and I can see how it helps other people. So I'm pretty bullish on that. And as a force for changing culture, like when artists from different countries in the world can collaborate on one art piece and then sell it to our collectors in other countries, holy cow, that is just mind-blowing. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also like beyond art as well, like Axie Infinity is legit, giving people employment, like play to freaking earn. Like you just have to play a game, and then that's the main job that they have. Like I play Axie Infinity, and that's so cool. Like I always wondered, like this is like a really cool economic structure, for lack of a better word, that's popping up, like play to earn kind of a model where like Philippines, like people from Philippines, they're actually playing this game and living their lives in the most peaceful harmonious way possible, without busting their ass at their full-time job. That's so cool. Like I mean, yeah, blockchain is truly changing people's lives in ways I couldn't even imagine, like until, let's say, even 3 years ago. Like that again points to the fact that the innovation is so rapid.
Yeah, and we are seeing an emergence of many different kinds of, insert your verb here, to earn. Because if you look at it, what is the most important asset that all of us have right now? It's attention. Our attention is really valuable to companies and marketers in particular, and our attention has value. And until now, other people made money from our attention, and now blockchain allows us to make money from whatever we choose to pay attention to. And so play to earn is just one of those things, like listen to earn, watch to earn. There's all kinds of those models coming up, which is very exciting.
Yeah. So Amira has a question. She says, I joined Web3 for the possibility to have access to opportunities that I don't have in real life. This is why I felt so terrible when I tried to buy my first NFT and be a top shot, and realized I couldn't because of some blockade the US has.
Yeah, that's the Cuban blockade. Yeah.
My God. How can this happen in blockchain technology being centralized? Well, that's a good point she raises. Like Top Shot kind of, touts itself as, oh, we're decentralized on flow and everything. What's your take on that?
Yeah. Thank you, Amara, for that question. It's a really good question. And it harkens back to the fact that we are not yet at the point where we have complete systems on the blockchain. Anytime there is an on-ramp or off-ramp to a regulated system, the banking system, you've got a problem. You've got the same gatekeepers sitting there watching, minding it. And it's going to be some time. But when we get to the point where more and more goods and services can be transacted with pure crypto, the problem will go away. But we are not there yet, Amara. And I'm sorry about the fact that you have this blockade. And, I've spoken to you about this issue separately also. Imara and I are on the same team, the TriCrypto team. And so we've talked about Cuba a lot, and the fact that the people are still paying the price for the politics of years, of decades, and it's just insane. But so it's not there yet, but I feel like blockchain and crypto can sort of help eliminate some of those borders in the long term. There's going to be a lot of upheaval there because people in power are never voluntarily going to give up that, and they're going to make life miserable. But ultimately, truth and the right thing is going to prevail. So I know it's very rose-colored way to look at the world, but that's who I am. I like to be the optimist. I feel like it is gonna work. This genie is out, and it's gonna be very hard to put away. So I mean, we have to get to the point where more people are and more transactions are possible in goods and services on crypto alone, and don't need an off ramp to regulated currencies, fiat currencies, and then I think the problem should go away.
Yeah. Okay. So another question from Bhanu. What happens if someone mints art of someone else? Maybe what he means is like, what if you right-click Save as Mona Lisa and make a Picasso.eth account and publish it from there? What's stopping you from doing that? What happens?
Yeah, I mean, so the obvious solution to that is that if you are collecting art from a creator, you need to go and validate what is their account on the blockchain, what is the authentic account on the blockchain, and then you look at what you're trying to buy, and if those don't match, you know that it's a fraud. So this is a fairly easy test for you to do, but it does require buyer beware, and ultimately, I think there might be these kind of sophisticated checks built into wallets themselves. But for right now, if you're going to buy a piece of art, you need to make sure that the account address that minted that art is also in fact authentic. So that's up to you right now. But that would be the easiest way to check that something is authentic or not.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So do we have any other questions? But what if artist is not aware about Web3, etc.? That's a good follow-up comment. Like, what if artists don't know about that? So here's the thing, right? We are at a point in this life cycle here where there's a lot of people hopping on the blockchain bandwagon, artists in particular, who are like, wow, this is opportunity. So I just talked about the opportunity, right? But at the same time, they are jumping into a situation where the user experience is not yet quite there. The user experience in blockchain right now is pretty much designed by engineers for engineers. It isn't as smooth for mainstream users. So as a result, the artists and the creators jumping on right now are on the bleeding edge, and some of them, unfortunately, are going to have problems. So yeah, this is going to be solved through the evolution of better user experiences. It is happening, but it's slow because it's very complicated. I don't know how many of you on here like work in software, etc. But user experience just on basic web applications is super hard. On mobile, even harder. And on Web3, it's really, really, really difficult and challenging because you got to deal with a lot of unknowns, etc. And so, so it's complicated. Mina, you have a follow-up.
Yeah, I think I kind of have a comment on what you just said. So my background, I study architecture, but I work most of my time as a software engineer, and I think my observation is like a lot of our problems is actually coming back to two. It's a design problem and it's a human problem. So I think what you said is spot on. Like eventually, if we can start thinking about like user-centered design, not so much about like trying to please every demand, but more like trying to think of like how a user would actually use your product anyway from digital to physical. I think that is a basic premise of like designing and architecting and building anything.
That's a good point. Yeah, thank you for that. And Cindy, you have some.
Yes, I wanted to comment to the previous, not this last fellow, but the lady before, about how do you check for authenticity in the art that you're buying, and share a bit of breaking news for our team or people that are interested. And that is, as many of you know, the W3C has been working for quite some time on verified identity. And if you were to go to self.id now, you can get an identifier to represent yourself or your company that is a DID identifier, and verify that on your Twitter account. And then if you also own your Ethereum ENS name, you have a chain of title. So that's a really powerful tool that artists could start using to protect themselves. So if you're an artist named XYZ and you own that ENS name and you register it on self.id as artist XYZ, you get an identifier and it links to your Twitter account. It's a chain of title. It could change everything for people if they could better understand it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Thank you, Cindy, for sharing. I'm going to check it out. That's really, really cool. Yeah, cool. All right. So we are about at the end of the hour here of our first BlockChai and Chill.
Yes.
I enjoyed talking about it. I would like that in the future. Yeah, I'd like in the future to have more people also participate, but we'll switch to the webinar format so unwelcome guests don't mess up.
That was so unexpected.
Our thing. Yeah.
But this is really cool. All the questions that you have, guys, make sure you join our chat again next Thursday, same time, and we'll be dealing with a different topic. And looking forward to seeing you there. And let us know how you liked it by tagging us on Twitter at Decentology. And I would be waiting to hear back from you all.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for anyone who cares, my chai today was lemongrass flavored. I really like that one. Next week it'll be cardamom. So
nice.
Thanks so much for your time and for joining. And catch you online sometime. Bye-bye. See ya.
All right. Ciao, ciao.